Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 55th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. By now, I think my point of just how much classic 90s hip-hop there is starting to come across a bit, especially when it comes to New York, which is why I've had to do twice as many classics from there as other places, and many of those places have hundreds, if not thousands, of quality releases on their own. I think quite literally every album I picked in this group would have a group of people that say it's their favorite album ever, though some of the picks would probably receive more votes than others. Honestly, I'd go out on a limb and say I think most of the albums I've covered in general have at least one person who thinks it's the best hip hop album. Obviously, some of the more underground ones aren't going to fare well against platinum selling albums, but my point is with how wide a scope there is for personality, taste, and preference, and how people's favorites change constantly, there's a never ending amount of albums that hold the title for being someone's favorite. Moment of Truth might not be my single favorite album in hip hop, but it's definitely up there, and it's my favorite Gangstar album, which is definitely saying something. Gangstar was a beloved New York duo consisting of Guru and DJ Premier, who were from Boston and Houston respectively. The reason they get classified as an act from New York is because despite their birth towns, their actual association and output as a duo took place in Brooklyn. Also, saying what Gangstar was doing at the time could be classified as old school East Coast boom bap is a massive understatement. These guys defined classic boom bap, putting them in the conversation of best duos in hip hop, and they're amongst good competition. But even with them, you'd be hard pressed to find another rapper producer duo with the type of 4 album run Guru and Premier pulled off in the 90s. But in terms of influencing the culture and its sound, I think Gangstar could be argued as top 5, even amongst the likes of my personal favorite duos, like Mad Villainy or Cannibal Ox. While Guru's trademark silky smooth voice has this calm but deadly quality, DJ Premier's iconic drum loops keep the pace and energy up in contrast with Guru's flow to form a perfect amalgamation of styles. They actually made their formal album debut in 1989 with No More Mr. Nice Guy. This breakout album was nowhere near a failure, with the debut breaking into the top 100 for the Billboard R&B chart, and the single Positivity peaked at number 19 on the Billboard Rap chart. However, in terms of a truly impactful and memorable album, it was sort of lost among some of the heavy hitters that also dropped in '89, like Paul's Boutique, De La Soul's debut, Queen Latifah's debut, and of course the DOC's No One Can Do It Better. However, their next album, Step in the Arena, was a completely different story. I've honestly never known exactly which year this classic technically falls under as a release date because it was initially printed as a 1990 album, but it was commercially released in '91, which is the year I more commonly see it associated with. Regardless, it was a step up from their previous release and gathered much more sales and critical acclaim. From there, it was nothing but even more gold, leaving Gangstar's overall output in the 90s as a stretch with not one remotely whack album in sight. I think any one of their LPs from that decade could be your favorite, and you'd find plenty of others just like you. While for me, 1994's Hard to Earn definitely would grab the second spot, the 1998 release they put out upon the return of their hiatus is often considered their magnum opus, and I tend to agree. DJ Premier is almost always put in discussions for the best producers in the genre, and it gives you an idea of just how hard he knocked every single instrumental on Moment of Truth out of the park. Many of my personal favorite Primo beats he ever laid down are on here. Two of the slightly lesser known ones are Betrayal and Next Time, the latter of which is probably a top 3 Gangstar beat for me in general. They also had an extremely direct role in sparking the fire beneath other MCs and groups through their collective Gangstar Foundation. Here they would mentor and usually produce for multiple other acts like Jeru the Damaja, MOP, and Group Home. I think certain younger fans, like the kind that just adamantly insist that Kanye's the best producer ever and there's no debate, don't fully grasp that Premier would have changed hip hop even if the collaboration with Guru never happened. Just a sliver of the classic albums this dude has done production on include Ready to Die, Illmatic, Reasonable Doubt, Return of the Boom Bap, It Was Written, Life After Death, Black on Both Sides, and The Future Is Now. And that isn't even accounting for the resurgence he's had in the last decade doing beats for the likes of modern underground artists like Evidence and Griselda. Inversely, even if he never did any of those legendary tracks for other artists, his ear for sampling on albums like this one would still be next to none. At times, these top-tier primo instrumentals get shared for some other MCs and artists to make appearances, like Wu-Tang's Inspectah Deck, Casey and JoJo, Hannibal Stacks, MOP, Freddie Fox, Big Shug, Crumb Snatcher, G Dep, Shiggy Shaw, and Scarface. This one is a real bitch to narrow down, so I'm gonna leave out the songs I already mentioned for having my favorite beats. That way I can make my main top 3 work, Above the Clouds, and the title track. My honorable mentions aren't exactly few and far between, with You Know My Steez, Robin Hood Theory, JFK to LAX, It's a Setup, BI vs. Friendship, The Militia, What I'm Here For, My Advice to You, Make 'em Pay, and The Mall. Thank you for watching my 55th video. Next up, we're going to do what's arguably the most popular and successful hip-hop and R&B related album I haven't touched yet, so be sure to check that out, as well as like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs off Gangstar's top album are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.